Do you like comics? Well, this might be the game for you. Welcome to Bad at Board Games.
Well, he's bad at board games.
I am. We're bad at board games, so you don't have to be. I always have to make some comment to make him laugh and throw him off.
Let's do that one more time.
No.
Oh, come on.
No. That's the whole point. He likes to be all professional, and I like to screw with him.
I do. Because apparently, I don't know. I do.
Be professional.
I am being professional. Today, we are coming to you with a new game that's about to end on Kickstarter. So the campaign is about to end. And that game is Age of Comics, The Golden Years. This is a game that is designed by Giacomo Cimini and Sonia Gonçalves with artwork by Laura Guglielmo. It is published by Lirius Games. And the game itself takes place in what would be the mid-1930s to the mid-1950s. It is the comic era. We are publishing companies. We are trying to design and publish, print, and sell our comics, trying to get the most amount of fame, the most amount of fans, the most amount of money, and convert all that into ultimate victory. So that is a brief summary of Age of Comics. Brad, tell us a little bit about the design of this game.
So you get some really cool old-time comic artwork, right? And I think that everything is dripping in theme. It takes you back, makes you look like, oh, this is, things that I don't remember the 30s. I'm not that old. But
don't let him lie.
But I think everything works really, really well together. The board is a bit muted pastels. It looks like the comic book print with the pixelated dots and everything. And then you look at some of the names of the writers are kind of puns off of new modern people, but with an old age slant to them. And, you got Future Wonder as the comic book names and, Star Spangled Duo. It's just funny. It's got a little bit of humor in there. Not trying to take itself too seriously, but trying to pay a homage, back to that age of comic books when things were really just kind of exploding around this media. But I like it. I think it looks really nice. So I give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, it is definitely beautiful.
Yeah. So what do you think about the mechanics?
Yes, so ultimately this comes down to being a worker placement game. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go throughout this first impression video of the game. But you've got a handful of things that are going on here. So you do have your worker placement action. You also are able to kind of explore a map. It's not area control, but you are going out into a map. You're navigating around trying to pick up orders that you'll be able to ultimately fulfill. So it's not just that you're going to be able to print your comic book. You can, and then do nothing with it, but you're obviously going to lose in that aspect. So you do want to go out. You are going to try to find some sales and see what you can do in terms of placing that. It also has upgrade abilities. So as you play your cards into your tableau, so tableau building, you are going to be able to possibly swap out some of those cards. Mm-hmm. It also has an interesting economic mechanic, and that's going to be the entire chart you see over here in front of me. Every one of the players is going to have their own pathway where they're going to be able to take the comics that they have published, put them on this little economic track, and that's going to move up and down as we go throughout the game. there is money as a commodity, but the biggest commodity that I think we found in our playing of it is the fans. So you have two different commodities that you're really trying to gather and manage well in order to be able to upgrade what you need to upgrade in order to be able to get the money that you need to be able to publish and print new books. And so the game itself, while it is a worker placement, and that's kind of in the rules, it even says you're going to spend your time here doing this, there's more to it than just the simple worker placement action itself. As you go throughout the game, you also have variable places within the worker placement area that you can, in essence, upgrade. You can add some extra abilities, some special abilities into what it is that you're doing, and you do have limitations with that. You're only able to put out 3 special upgrades when there's 6 different places that you can get these special actions to be able to upgrade your abilities. So there's a handful of mechanics through it. It's also a racing game. We found that to be the case. It is spent over only 5 rounds. And at the end of that 5th round, the game is done. And so you are trying to race to get the amount of victory points that you can in that short amount of time.
When I saw this, I don't know, advertised, I don't know if that's the right word, but a few months ago that it was coming, I was like, I kept waiting for this to come out. And then I finally saw it published, like, hey, this is online. So I just sent him a Lirius Games message, and I'm like, I really want to review this. Here's some intro B-roll I do. Would you be interested in that? And they're like, hey, yeah, we've got one we can send you. And so they've been really nice. And I was really excited to get this. Did some B-roll for them right before I left to go to Portugal. Toph learned the game while I was gone, and then we were able to play it yesterday. So I had a lot of hype on myself. I thought I was all in on this game, and we'll get to that later. But I was just like, oh, this is right up my alley. I love comic books. I've collected comic books for a long time, all those kinds of things. And, you know, as we were playing it, our friend Ashby, he likes comic books as well. And it was really neat to see him like, oh yeah, and you're marketing things, and all they're doing is telling you it's coming, and they're trying to hype you up, and then it doesn't show up for 3 or 4 months. Like, that's in here. And then, like, you know, trying to get fans, and like, you have a crappy writer, and then, or, you know, a more experienced writer, but they cost more to use them and get your comic book out. And then you can have ripoffs. So the ripoffs have like monotone orange and monotone blue, versus the good comics. You know, they have multicolor comics that you can produce, but you don't need as many resources to do the ripoff. So it is neat how it is just dripping in this theme, and how they're able to go about, you know, getting ideas and getting publishing. And I'm looking at the board and developing the ideas, and hiring the artists, and hiring the writers to go along with it, and then you have to publish it. And it's neat how they've done that whole thing.
Yeah, that is the thing I think I like the most about this game, is the fact the theme is in it. And I am not a comic book person. When Brad first talked about this game and said, hey, this is a game that I'm interested in, this is a game that'd be awesome to review, I thought, oh, great, comics. Like, that's not my thing. I'm a reader. I'm not a comic book reader. I wish I was. It'd be fun, but that's not my thing. And then he said it's a worker placement game. And I've been known to like 1 or 2 worker placement games in my life. Right. So, you know, I think that kind of drew me into it. I was not looking at it as this theme's going to work, but holy cow, the theme is incredibly impressive. And as somebody that does graphic design, that I saw immediately. I mean, just the process that you go through, that's impressive. Gaining royalties from your books, like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was really, it all of that really fits. So what are some of your positives, Toph?
Well, the theme, obviously, we just discussed that. That's going to be one of the big positives. If you are a person that likes to play games that are heavily steeped in theme, this is 100% that. This is one of the best implementations of theme into a board game that I think I've really played, especially coming from somebody that doesn't really have a leg in the race when it comes to comics. Like, right. I was blown away as we were playing it. So that was impressive. There's some good things that are in the game. I do like the mechanic of having this, what's it called? Not the auction, but the store where you're going out to be able to
you're-
gather your artists
You're
and your
a traveling
writers.
salesperson, basically.
Oh, no, not that.
Oh, you're
No,
talking about the buying or the hiring of the artists.
The hiring of the artists, yeah. So with the game, you're going to take your writers, you're going to shuffle them together, you're going to take your artists, shuffle them together, and then all the comics, the original comics, you're going to shuffle them together, and then you're going to put out this market for you to be able to
9
hire
cards
them.
are out there.
Yeah, or if you're playing 4, it's going to be 12 cards, 4 of each, 3 of each. I do like that, and the more we played it, the cards don't replenish until the end of the round, and that was frustrating, and the more that I thought about it, I liked that, because that was a restrictive part of the game, the decision not to replenish
A scarcity model. Yeah.
Yes, and so that was definitely something that I liked about it. I did like, at the end of the game, realizing that I thought we weren't doing anything with this map over here doing the sales, and all of a sudden all of us had all of these tokens we had collected and we had made sales on. And I thought the whole partway through the game, I was like, this is useless. Like, we're not doing this at all. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, no, we really have been.
Right.
That, the shock of that I liked as well. And I think that's a good thing about games, is when you play it and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait a minute, there's been something that we're doing and I'm not paying attention to doing it, but I'm doing it naturally. That just flows, and it just makes the gameplay experience so much better. So those are some of the things that, and it's just fun artwork. We had a blast yelling out the different comic book names that we were making and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I would say my positives really are around the theme, just because that's what sucked me in. I like comics. That was the whole thing. And I would say the other positive with this is it's an entry level worker placement. I don't know, do we skip the weight? But like
we'll talk about weight a little bit later on.
But it's it's harder than, say, what was it, Clank, but it's not, a Euro game where you're in the 3s. I would say it's firmly planted in the mid weight. Fun little, anybody can learn to play this, and it doesn't take too long to play.
Yeah, that's another great thing. Yeah. Reading the rules, I think it was saying that it would be 1 to 2 hours to play. And I think even with instruction, which we took our time doing, it was still within that time period. Yeah. So it played very well. Do you have any negatives?
So my negatives are, I got kind of let down by the worker placement choices, and if you miss a turn, I missed one turn and then I just got left behind. So I think my negatives are around, like, there's a method in which you're going to make victory points in this game. And if you have any hiccup, then you're out. And then it gets to this point where it's just like, you don't have a lot of options. It's obvious you got to go here, you got to go here, and you got to go here, especially the last round.
Yeah.
So I would like it a little bit more complexity in that worker placement. It just didn't seem to have enough scarcity or important decisions at times. So that's my negative around it.
Yeah.
Yours?
So that's one of the big ones. And I think, expanding a little bit what you just said, so looking at each of these worker placement spots, you have, depending on the number of people playing, a lot of options to be able to play into them. So there's 5 spots available on the board to begin with. If you're playing 4 players, you have access to all 4 of them. If you're playing 3 players like we did, you have access to 4 of them. So you have really kind of taken away the worker placement aspect, at least the competition side of the worker placement aspect of, I'm going to go here and block somebody else from being able to take that action.
It was almost too open.
That's exactly what it was.
That intentionally, but at the same time, it was kind of like, well, I can place multiple workers in the same spot, but there wasn't any competition except for maybe once or twice in the game for a place.
And I think they tried to mitigate that well within the worker placement areas. Not all of them. The first 2 don't have it, but all the other 4, the first person to play into that action space is going to get a large bonus. The second player is going to get a little bit smaller bonus. Third player is going to get a little bit smaller of a bonus. So there is a mitigation of the fact that you can just free for all kind of go wherever you want to when you play without risk of not being able to print or not being able to do something. But it's still there's a lot in each of the spots, a lot of places that you can go. And so it just felt like there wasn't that competition. And I didn't feel the benefits were so well warranted to rush to a specific place. Maybe printing, because printing lets you print 2 instead of only 1 if you're the first person there. But that was about it. So that's going to be one of my big negatives, is that there wasn't a lot of space, which maybe that is what's bringing the weight rating down a little bit. So it makes it more accessible to more people. Another complaint that I have, and this may be because it is a prototype that we have that we're playing, but I love the muted colors. I don't mind primary colors in games. I play blue all the time. I love blue. I like when games step outside of that and have different colors. But these 2 colors here, the salmon and this mustardy yellow color, are so similar that, especially if somebody is a little colorblind, yeah, or even like I'm just blind. I'm just blind in general. Just
don't be blind like that.
Yeah, it's hard to see the difference between this. Now on the board, they are much more separated.
Be a prototype thing. We're assuming that that'll get all worked out. But this is just nitpicks at times.
Yeah, but that is one of them. I did have one more positive, and I forgot to mention this, but the whole economic track over here is fantastic. This was probably, in my opinion, one of the strongest things that they did, of putting your comics onto it. So when you print an actual comic, you get a little mini comic of the exact same thing.
Yeah,
and
the graphics are the same, which makes it cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, I love this. And so you put it on based on the number of fans you have, and as you play throughout the game, you will gain fans or you will lose fans, and you are constantly moving this up and down this track, and that's your income. They did that fantastic. I thought that was great. But as you found, sometimes it's really hard to get the things you need to print them, and that's part of just worker placement. But that's also part of what Brad said. If you miss a step in the very beginning of the game, he felt like you couldn't catch up the entire time we played, and that's hard for especially a lighter weight game.
I made a mistake in the second round, but I just saw it. I'm like, that's it. That was the game. So that was frustrating. Yeah. So, what about the weight?
Okay, so the weight is currently rated on BGG at 2.5. I personally, we were talking about this last night. I personally would say it's a little bit lower than that. But 2.5 is probably accurate. It is a medium weight game. It's not going to be a very difficult hard weight game. I think it could be closer to a 2.2, 2.3. My opinion, I think Brad and Ashby were thinking 2.5 is accurate for it. Yeah. But yeah, so it's sitting there at a good entry-level worker placement economic game.
It's easier than viticulture.
Yes, it is.
So just for reference, more that kind of thing. But yeah.
Except for the fact that there's multiple things all going on at one time, that's what brings the complexity up. When it comes just to the actual worker placement aspect of it, I would put it actually on par. You made the comparison to Lords of Waterdeep being so much easier. I would actually put the actual worker placement aspect about as on par with Lords of Waterdeep.
Yeah. So my value rating. Now, this is a Kickstarter, so this is without shipping, which I don't know what that'll end up being. But you can get this game for $45, and for Kickstarter, that's really good. That is really, really good. So my value rating, if this was like $150, I'd say is a value of 1. If this were $25, I'd say your value is 5. For the base game, and pretty much this is what I would say is the base game, what we played. I think it's well worth the $45. If you're interested in worker placement, if you're interested in the theme, I would say it's a 4 out of 5 value rating at a $45 investment. It's 45 euros, so it's like all the same, right? It's a 1-for-1 right now. The deluxe version is, let me look, $65, and you're going to get some unique comic books by specific designers. You're going to get another version, like they have crime, they have westerns, horror comics. You're going to get like an army comic edition. You're going to get their version of Game Trays, so it's not from Game Trays, but they're trying to give you a stack of organization, which I would recommend after like just using this with the prototype, because I got tons of baggies.
Lots of baggies.
Lots and lots and lots of baggies. So, but The $65 version, I'm still gonna give it a hit and say it's probably a 3 out of 5 value, because you're not getting that much more for that $20. But you're getting some nice things. Like, and if you're wanting to bling things out, if you're that kind of person, that $65 is well within reach, and it's still really good price for, you know, a box game with the board and all the cards that you're going to get for $65. So I don't think the 3 is bad. I would say that's good. I'd kind of like to see more 3s than Kickstarters versus like everything being $150, $200 and feeling like, oh, the value's about a 2, but I really want it because I got all the FOMO going on. But
I'm going to interject for just a second on your value rating. If you are somebody like me that craves box organization, I think the $65 is a little bit more worth it to be able to get those trays to organize it. Because I tend to, with my games, if there's not a good system for organization, I will make a system for organization. I'll do the foam core, I'll spend the hours to make it, or I'll buy it. That in itself, maybe it's not going to take it to a 5, but I think it does. For me, it bumps it up a little bit.
And I'm only just saying, like, it just costs more, right? At $45 is, I think, a great deal.
Fantastic.
You know, and so if you're just, you know, money conscious and budget friendly and things like that, you know, but if you got $20 and you want this organization, a few extra perks, I like the extra perks.
Yeah.
But trying to be as honest with you as I feel it's worth. So our ratings, we're not going to rate this. So this is we've first impressions. We didn't get it soon enough from Lirius Games, and I was on vacation. We didn't have time to play it more than once. So it's very much a first impressions kind of thing. But hopefully we've given you enough information to kind of be able to make your own choice. Do you want to back it or not based on those, you know, weight ratings and value ratings and kind of how we've talked about it, right? But in the end, would you or are you backing it, Toph?
I am not going to back this, but I don't back Kickstarters.
Right.
Like, I am not the Kickstarter person. So I'm not going to play the hypothetical, would I, if I was a Kickstarter, because I don't know. I don't know what kind of games I would back if I was a Kickstarter person. I think when this goes to retail, that at some point, this might be something that I would add into my collection. I've got a ton of worker placement games. That's most of my collection. That's most of what I play. But this is great for a lower weight player. You know, this could be something in the theme. I mean, it's just, the theme is fantastic. I think this could be something that I might at some point add into my collection. But to answer the question about Kickstarter, which is going to be ending soon, no, unfortunately I'm not. But that's not a narc on it.
Yeah, and it's just not your thing.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. Yeah.
Kickstarters are my thing. And I would say I was all in when I heard about this. Now, there's plus and minus being able to play something and then like kind of getting left behind in the game, trying to figure out, is it my issue with my poor play or is it something with the game? I'm going to pass on the Kickstarter and wait for it to retail, because when I really tried to analyze what was going on, I missed a few complexities with the worker placement actions. Like, I just wish there was a little bit more and it wasn't so like, it got to the, like I said, it got to the end where it was just like, you have to go here, you have to go here, you have to go here. And those are kind of negatives for me on games. Thought the people were very nice. I love the theme. If you like worker placement, if you like comics, Ashby loved it. Yeah. So like, so you have somebody that doesn't back Kickstarters that likes the game. You have somebody who does back Kickstarters, I'm passing on it. And then you have our friend who loved everything about it. So, you know, you just got to realize that whatever works for you, you got to make your own decisions, but we want to give you ours based on, you know, you might like the games that I like more. You might like the games that Toph likes more. And that way you can make your decisions based on what you like.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to playing it again. I will say that.
Yeah. There you go. So we will be bringing it back to the table, but got to get a few more plays in it. Have a great night. And no matter if you're playing with solo, family, or friends,
enjoy whatever games you are bringing to the table.
Have a great night.
Bye.